Guys, the 2019 NRL Grand Final is finally here. The Sydney Roosters, the Canberra Raiders. I'm a bit shocked at who's actually playing in the Grand Final, but I thought I'd go ahead and give my predictions for the game. Now, I've done all the predictions all throughout the final series. Even at the start of the season, I was doing weekly prediction videos, and I gotta say, I wasn't very good. However, through the final series, I actually haven't been too bad, so hey, I might actually nail these predictions. Probably not, though. So obviously, the Grand Final, it's just the one game. In previous weeks, I've been talking about multiple games, so I think just for this video, just to spice things up a little bit, we're going to be talking about more than just a winner. I'll go through first try scorer, man of the match, all that sort of stuff. Clive Churchill, as it's called. Also, just before someone leaves in the comments section about me not talking about the State Cup or the women's game or anything like that, I haven't really followed it enough this year. I haven't even watched any reserve grade game, and I've only watched a few of the women's games, so I can't really give an accurate prediction. However, if I just had to say one off the top of my head, probably New South Wales Cup seems to win every year. And for the women's, I'd probably go Dragons for the upset, but that's all I'm going to say about that. Nothing in detail. So, Roosters and Raiders. Who'd have thought this would be the grand final if you go back to the start of the season? I thought for sure that this would be a Roosters Storm grand final, even up until the start of the final series. I thought Raiders have been pretty good this year, but, you know, Storm would beat them, Roosters would beat the Rabbitohs, and, you know, they'll meet in the grand final again. It wasn't meant to be. The Raiders beat Melbourne, and straight away you're like, okay, all right, Raiders, they're serious this year. They're going to make the grand final for sure. Now, even though they still had to play their preliminary final, the grand final qualifier against the Rabbitohs, and the Rabbitohs are a great side, but it just felt like everything was falling into place for the Raiders in terms of they got a home final. You know, all the crowd was behind them, or say all of Canberra was behind them. And yeah, it just felt like everything was going Canberra's way, and they were destined to make the grand final. The thing is, are they destined to win the grand final? As much as I'd like to see the fairy tale continue, I just don't see it happening. The reason being is the Roosters, they're just so good. We're talking about destiny. It feels like the Roosters' destiny is to go back to back. The first since, I don't know, the 90s or something like that. First in a long time anyways. So all of the talk at the moment is about the Raiders and them breaking their drought, but the Roosters, they could break a drought that's just for the NRL as a whole. Now look, I'm not saying the Raiders, they can't win. They definitely can win. They definitely have the team to do it. They're riding a lot of momentum at the moment. They're going to have a lot of the crowd support, probably the majority of the crowd support, although it does seem like the Roosters fans seem to come out of the woodworks for the grand final. But just in terms of the Roosters, they're so strong all over the park. There's no real weak spots. Even their bench is so strong. You add in that Jake Friend might play. Whether it's Jake Friend, Sam Verrills, you're going to have a pretty solid hooker there. Jake Friend is probably the better player, but he hasn't played in a long time, so I'll be tempted to start Sam Verrills. But it looks like Jake Friend might find his way onto the bench, which just strengthens their bench even more. Nat Butcher, a great player, probably deserves to be there, but looks like he'll be the one to drop off. But yeah, I mean, look at Takiahu's on the bench, one of the better props in the game. Tedavano's pretty good. Angus Crichton, he's a New South Wales representative. He's on the bench. Was one of the Rabbitohs' best for years, and now he's come across to the Roosters and can't even get a starting gig. It's just a very strong team all over the park. Your backs are strong, halves are strong, forwards are strong. Like I said, there's no weak points. The only thing the Raiders sort of can do is just make sure they try and get the crowd behind them and just don't let the Roosters get off to a strong start. They need to stay with them. They can't let the Roosters get a lead like they did last year in the grand final when the Roosters went up 18-0 and it was just game over. The Roosters just started so strong and there was no coming back for the Storm. And there's not really too many comebacks in grand finals. So although the Raiders are a team that can complete a comeback, I just don't see it happening in the grand final. So they definitely need to make sure they stay neck and neck with them at least until the second half. And then, I don't know, they just got to make sure they don't go into their shell and sort of just grind out a victory. I think they need to sort of try and come out and blow the Roosters away. Now, for the Raiders, I think there's a few keys to their game. I think, like I said, they need to throw the ball around, need to get a lot of offloads out, and I think a person to do that will be Joey Leilua. I think he's a key to their attack in terms of he just needs to have a big game. Between him and Rapana, the Leipana side, I think they need to come up with a big game because, you know, Croker's going to be solid. We know Kotrick's going to be solid, or at least they should on paper anyways. But Leilua is one of those guys who can make or break a game. He's someone who can win the game like he did a few weeks ago. He threw that nice little pass there to Bateman, and Bateman went over and scored the match-winning try. But he can also do some very silly things like getting sin bin and making stupid errors. And for all the good offloads that he does, he also does some shit ones. So, I don't know, the Raiders just need to be up for it, and they need to be very aware of the ball sort of being alive at all times, because I think that's how you're going to beat the Roosters. And even then, it's no guarantees that it's even going to phase the Roosters. The Roosters are just so strong, especially in a grand final. We saw last year how good they were in a big game in the grand final. Luke Keary came out, absolutely destroyed it. They just played like a 10 out of 10 game in that grand final, and I feel like we're going to see something similar tonight. I just feel like the Roosters, they've been waiting for this moment, been waiting for the grand final. Even though the Roosters finished second in terms of the ladder, I think we can all agree that they're probably the best team. I'd say they're better than the Storm. The Raiders beat the Storm as well, but I just think the Roosters are they're just a little bit higher than everyone else. I mean, they won the premiership last year. They've sort of been in cruise control throughout the whole season, been resting players. And I think that's why they came second rather than first, because they've had bigger fish to fry. They've been waiting for the finals. All you need to do is make the the top four. You don't really need to get the minor premiership. It means nothing at the end of the day. As long as you win the grand final, that's all that matters. And I think that's all that matters to the Roosters, them winning the grand final. So I can just see them being so hungry for this and being so up for it and so ready, and it not being a good night in the office for the Raiders. And I feel like for the majority of this video, I've just been talking about how good the Roosters are and how the Raiders are going to struggle against them, but it's just the Roosters are that good. It's nothing against the Raiders. Literally any team. If they were playing Melbourne this week, if they were playing Rabbitohs, any team, Manly, anyone, I would predict the Roosters to come out and annihilate them. It's the fact that it is the Raiders. I'm not predicting it like an absolute destruction. I feel like the Raiders are going to be up for it as well, just because they haven't been in a grand final in so long. They haven't been in any sort of position like this. I know they got close a few years ago, where Edric Lee dropped the ball to making the grand final, but apart from that, they haven't really even been in contention for a grand final. So I think just the fact that they're in and about winning a premiership, I think it's great stuff for the NRL, and I think the crowd will really get behind them and spur them on. And for that reason, I can just really see the Raiders just staying in the game and giving it to the Roosters for about 50-60 minutes, and then I can just see the Roosters maybe scoring a try, just breaking open the game, and sort of just killing the confidence of the Raiders and sort of running away with it. So I do think it's going to be close to a degree, but I think in the end the Roosters will run away with it. And a lot of the times in grand finals, when a team runs away with it, like, they really run away with it. So if I had to pick a score line, I think I'm going to go 24-6. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, 12-6, 10-6, up until the 50-60 minute mark to the Roosters, and then a few late tries. Now, in terms of first try scorer, I'm going to go with Brett Morris. I think Brett Morris has definitely got big game experience, such a good player. And I think either him or Daniel Tupou will get the first try. I don't know if it's from a kick or from a nice slick move, but I can just see Brett Morris scoring it. In terms of the man of the match, I think this is a tough one because the Roosters have so many good players, and considering I'm picking the Roosters, I've got to go with one of their players. So Luke Keary got it last year, I think. I can see Cooper Cronk getting it in his last game. That is a big talking point, definitely, Cooper Cronk's last game. But I think I'm going to go with James Tedesco. He's won absolutely everything else except for this. So I think he'll complete his haul, complete his collection of medals and individual accolades. So James Tedesco for man of the match for me for the Clive Churchill. So yeah, guys, those are my predictions. I'm expecting this to be a really, really good game, a very entertaining game. I don't know how many tries will be scored, but I think a lot of entertaining stuff will happen. There's just too many good players who can produce something out of nothing, playing at once for it not to be an entertaining game. Whether it be your Latrell Mitchells or Joey Manu for the Roosters, your Tedescos, or even for the Raiders, your Leipana. You got your Rapana, you got Joey Leilua, Nick Kotrick, very good. Jack Whiten can produce the goods. Josh Papali is someone who I didn't talk about. I think he's the X factor for the Raiders. I think for the Raiders to win, he definitely needs to have a 10 out of 10 performance, and he's definitely capable of doing so. We all know Josh Papali is a fantastic player. We've seen him do it time after time for Queensland. He just needs to do it for the Raiders on the big stage in the grand final, and I think he definitely can. He just needs other players to step up with him, especially guys like Hodgson and that. A guy who's key to the Raiders as well, I think, is Aiden Caesar, because I don't think he's been particularly that good, but he needs to do his job. I think he will do his job in the grand final. I think both these teams will play very, very good. I'm expecting, about an 8 out of 10 performance at least from the Raiders and the Roosters. I just feel that an 8 out of 10 performance by the Roosters is still good enough to get the job done against like a 9 out of 10 Raiders. The Roosters are they're just next level. Like I said earlier, I'm talking about the Roosters a lot and how good they are, and it's not a knock on the Raiders. The Raiders are definitely like a very, very good side. They didn't make the grand final by accident. They definitely deserve to make the grand final. Second best team all year. I know they came third on the ladder, but they've got wins against Melbourne at multiple times. So I think we can safely say that the Raiders were the second best team this year at least. Could be the first depending on tonight. But yeah, this wasn't a fluke that they made the grand final. They've been absolutely outstanding all year. It's just the Roosters just so bloody good. We talk about key players for the Raiders in terms of your Leiluas and Hodgsons and all that. The Roosters don't even have key players. They've just got a key team. They just go through their side and find someone who's not a match winner, not a game breaker. I mean, the whole backline is full of people who can win a game. Tedesco can win a game for you. Brett Morris can win a game for you. Latrell Mitchell can win a game for you. Joey Manu can win a game for you. Kieran Cronk can win a game for you. Even Daniel Tupou to an extent could do it. Then you add in the forwards. Man, it's such a good side. Probably the best side I've ever seen play in terms of club football. So, yeah, good luck, Raiders. You're definitely going to need a lot of luck. Hopefully the refereeing is quite good as well. And hopefully it's not something we're talking about tomorrow or in the papers and talking about how our team got robbed of a victory or anything. Because that would be absolutely terrible. But, yeah, for my predictions, like I said, first try scorer, I'm going to go Brett Morris. Man of the match, the Clive Churchill, I'll give it to James Tedesco. Right guys, that is the end of the video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Now, you might have noticed I did have to swap cameras halfway through. My webcam was just, it was being shit. So I'm filming it on my phone right now. Hopefully you don't mind that. Anyways, like I said, that's the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram is on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke YT. My Facebook page is also in the description below. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Hopefully the grand final is a good one. Leave in the comments section below who do you think's going to win and by how much. Righto guys, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully my predictions are kind of accurate. I don't know, maybe not for Raiders fans. Now, even though I've tipped the Roosters, I'll be cheering on the Raiders for sure. So go the Green Machine, go Canberra. Hopefully they win the grand final. See you next time, guys. Bye.